Yo, it's Simba, and today's February 17th, 2020, Dr. Huey P. Newton's birthday and a decent way through Black History Month. And I often think at this time of year, probably like lots of you, that a lot of young Americans have been force-fed a sanitized, pristine, and whitewashed version of history that often neglects to talk about the struggles of masses of people, and in place of that, spends hours and hours talking about this or that really great dude who magically ran into this or that really great idea that shaped history. I call BS. Focusing on the so-called great men of history does a lot for how we look at the past. Specifically, two things I want to focus on. First, that perspective reduces history down to the actions of a few people that... Mango. First, it reduces history down to the actions of a few people you can name off the top of your head. For example, if there was a student movement in Indonesia in the 90s which forced a dictator to give way in the form of civil liberties, a less powerful police force, and so on, it would be really difficult to understand or internalize the impact of that movement if you couldn't name a leader from it. It might even seem insignificant altogether. The second thing the great man theory does is assume that certain people are born with a certain amount of greatness that the average person just doesn't have. It might seem like a harmless assumption at first, but stick with me here. Suppose you're running a 60-meter dash against a bunch of other competitors, but one of them has a head start of 30 meters. Of course they'd get the best time, and of course their competitors would complain, but what great man theory tells us is that they're the best sprinter because they won, they got the best time, and they deserve the advantage because they're the best. Their greatness is defined by their advantage, and their advantage is given to them because of their greatness. The logic is circular. In this series, I'm going to try and combat those two problems by offering you something that, if your education growing up was anything like mine, you probably didn't get a whole lot of. Primary sources. I'll be reading through and talking about primary sources that have anything to do with the Black Panther Party, which was co-founded by the previously mentioned Huey Newton, as well as Bobby Seale in Oakland, California, 1966. You might have heard of the Free Breakfast Program, or know a few members, or have an idea of what they stood for without ever reading a primary source by them, and that's okay. But I think that you have a lot to gain from hearing about what the Black Panthers stood for directly from them. I was actually inspired to do this first off after watching a documentary about the Black Panthers that told the story the director's way. I thought it was really informative and painted a really attractive picture of black revolutionaries apparently torn apart because of an ideological mismatch, among a few other things. I later found a scathing criticism of that documentary written by Elaine Brown, a leader of the Black Panther Party for about 3 years. She said the documentary tore the Black Panther Party from its ideological foundations, and that it was a two-dimensional piece of pop history made for people who were comfortable with the status quo, and even that her interviews in the documentary misrepresented her own opinions. I did some research. Can't disagree. Hopefully now you understand a few problems that I have with how history is often taught, the importance of challenging the assumptions the history of great men makes, and maybe you're as interested in what the Black Panther Party had to say as I am. I'm not here to talk about this stuff for self-improvement, by the way. I'm here talking about the Black Panthers because the problems the Black Panthers faced still exist, and we need to learn from what they did that was right, what they did that was wrong, and take that into the 21st century. The first two things that I'm gonna be reading is the Black Panther Party platform and program, followed by the rules of the Black Panther Party. If you yourself are a black YouTuber and you want a part in this very small historical project, please hit me up if you want a speaking part. I'm more than happy to make that kind of happen. Or if you have any suggestions for the direction that this series is gonna go, also hit me up. So hit like if you'd like, click subscribe to join the pride, ding that bell, and I wish you well.